Hey, welcome to another show of Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. I'm Captain Rick with Captain Travis and Captain James. We are here for an hour, hopefully of your listening pleasure.
We'll see what we can do.
Probably not, but hopefully so. But anyway, we're here to talk fishing and see what's going on in Tampa Bay and the surrounding waters. What's happening, boys?
Another day
in paradise,
another day,
man.
baby. Travis, you've probably got some exciting news today to tell us.
Oh, man.
Travis, I know he's busy doing some sharing right now, but Travis had an epic whiting bite today, and I think everybody's going to be excited to hear about it.
Yeah. It's intense fishing.
It's pretty good.
We'll wait till later in the show.
Oh,
to build the suspense behind
We need to get a big audience built up before you start sharing these secrets and tips on.
Everybody wants to know.
It's like going bass fishing with Bill Dance or, these guys that are known for certain species.
Yeah.
You pretty much lock down the whiting.
With the whiting, for sure.
Yeah.
If
the
you're
white
looking,
night and the
if
whiting.
you're looking for whiting, I might be your guy.
I think you are. I don't think there's no might involved.
There's not a lot of competition out there.
No, there's.
You mean there's nobody running whiting trips?
No. Hey, you got.
I could find a market for
You got the market cornered on that. But anyway, it's been a good week. I can't say it's been a good week of fishing, but it's been a good week, and we've hopefully we'll have some good comments and questions tonight that we can talk about, because personally I don't really have a whole lot to talk about for fishing, because I went through 14 years of guiding. I went through my 4th shutout today, so I don't have nothing to tell you. It's just bad. I got shut out today, and we had about 5 or 6 bites all day. Never boated a fish.
It's tough, man.
And if you've had those days, especially when you got somebody paying you money to take them fishing, it's not a good feeling. I mean, it's a bad feeling.
It is.
And I'm not a drinker, but if I get a handle of whiskey on the way home, it could happen.
We'll know why.
Just kidding on that. But anyway, yeah. So James, what you got going on this week? What's happened with you?
Well, coming out of the weekend, had some trips with some folks down, enjoying our warm weather compared to where they're coming from. Just targeting the slam, just seeing what Tampa Bay is all about. So we did a lot of trout. We did we found some snook that were comfortable when it warmed up a little bit, and redfish bite's been fairly consistent where I've been. We're getting some here and there. The size is ranging from overslot to underslot,
right.
But they keep the rods bent.
What kind of bait you been using?
I've been using live bait. I've been going out and catching white bait still.
Getting white bait. Okay.
Yeah, not getting as many as we're accustomed to, but I'm finding it up there still. So if I can get it, I'll get it.
Right.
I don't always use it,
right.
But last week
so
it came into play.
Carrying a mixed bag. Shrimp.
Yeah, shrimp. Yep, shrimp and white bait, and then I'm still mixing in the artificial here and there for people depending on what I see their skill level is, and each time it's worked out. So
absolutely. You been doing any dead bait?
Haven't been doing any dead bait. I did some dead bait yesterday, doing some shark fishing. That was my first time ever running a shark fishing trip, but dead baiting for that for sure. Dead bait and shrimp.
I'm thinking you were probably around the power plant.
You guessed right.
Yeah. It's typically this time of year that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago it was off the chart. I was there today thinking it was going to be my ace in the hole.
Right.
And zilcho.
Don't feel bad, man. It was tough yesterday. I know there were some other guys out there, and we, from what I saw, waited out past when they stayed till, and it finally turned on for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Where we had a couple rods doubled over, but that was it.
Yeah.
It was tough. Wasn't easy.
The only rod I had doubled over today is the guy actually kind of tripped on it in the boat.
Okay. All right. Well, at least some action.
Yeah, it was a near injury, but we took care of that and had a doubled rod, but no fish involved in that at all. But how about you, Trav? You white baiting it? You shrimping it? You dead baiting it?
Today we shrimped it. Today we shrimped it, and I'm gonna do one more share here, and I'm gonna get to this show because this just takes up too much time.
Because we need you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
You're the catalyst.
You're the center of our show.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah. So we had a decent day. We ended up. It was slow to start off with. We picked up at like 11 a.m. We went and got some shrimp this morning. I was gonna run to the bridge and get some bait.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up this morning, man, and just wasn't feeling it.
You're thinking about breakfast because I know
we
you
did.
And
We went to
breakfast.
We hit up Popey's, did our breakfast deal, got some eggs, and got some gas, and literally went and got shrimp and hung out for an hour or so, and then went back to the dock, picked up the clients around 11, let it warm up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The wind actually laid down a little bit.
It did lay down.
Not flat calm, but it did lay down. So about 11, we left the dock about 11:05, 11:10, and we made a little run out to the middle of the bay because the wind was down and fished some rock piles. Did squat. I mean, we caught one little gag grouper, might have been 15 inches if I stretched him.
Mm-hmm.
But fishing with shrimp, like I said, Rick was right beside me in one of the areas, and the current was
keep
just
my bait on the bottom.
and that was part of it because we had a really low tide this morning, super low. The tide was still going out this morning when I was down at the dock at like 10 a.m. So I figured, well, we should hit that transition just right where we can get out to the rock piles and not have as much current.
Right.
And it wasn't, man.
Did
You're
a
fishing
quarter
with small
after
shrimp.
11?
Yeah.
Couldn't get them to the
gone.
bottom. And the thing about this, and we'll talk about it maybe in a little while, is it's good to have enough weight to get to the bottom, but it's not so good when you're fishing over a lot of rocks.
Yeah.
You almost want to get that nice drift or be able to gently put that bait on the bottom.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're just getting hung in the
All
rocks.
day.
So that being said, we sort of shifted gears and went inshore, looked for some trout, caught some small trout. That was a little slow, picked a few. Then we ended up finding some fish in the river, caught some ladyfish, did that deal, caught some black drum. No sheep's head, which is what we were targeting.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
He had his magic moment.
I found the golden horseshoe. We started fishing this one little edge that I like to fish for sheep's head, and we were getting nibbled on. And I could watch these guys, and we didn't have very large shrimp, but they kept getting pecked on, and they thought maybe it was a shrimp or getting hung on the rock. And I kept telling the guys, I'm like, man, you're getting bites. You're just not getting the fish. So long story short, I ended up breaking down the shrimp, just using little tippets of shrimp, and caught one more black drum. And I thought maybe that's what they were. Well, then all of a sudden, the whiting came to the party. And we started catching whiting, like, literally, man, like, bang, bang, bang. In, like, probably 15 minutes, we caught, like, 5 whiting. Lost a few. They kept getting, broke off, or not broke off, but basically stole. And then headed in. We had to go, so we'd be back at, like, at 3. So they're like, man, you serious? We had to leave the whiting bite? I was like, yeah, man.
Wow.
I can't.
I'd have gave him $50 for 5 whiting.
I can't go to the well. I can't go to the well all the time.
Yeah.
You can't run the well dry. But it was really cool.
And he's keeping that whiting spot really close to the cuff.
On the cuff.
Anybody know where he got the whiting?
No. I promise you, There's nobody there fishing whiting. I'm just saying, like.
I know where you was. There's nobody there fishing anything.
Wow.
I might be the only person that's ever caught a whiting there. But there was a little school of whiting in there, and it was really cool. So we were picking them up on small pieces of shrimp. So, anyhow, that's what we did today. Other than that, it was a slow, really dreary just day. Yeah. Now, the weather was nice, man.
If you could get shielded out of the wind, it was nice.
It was nice. Towards about 2 or 3 o'clock, which is right when we had to leave. And that's what we talked about on the way over. I think it was just about to kind of fire off because it was.
Well, if you
it was pretty cold this morning.
I mean, first thing this morning. And when I say first thing of our trip, there was bluebird skies.
Yeah.
And you're just under
Rick's
the thumb.
high pressure.
You just know you're under the thumb of the high pressure. And then by 2:30, 3 o'clock, you started seeing some clouds.
A little bit of cloud cover.
And, I bet they're eating right now.
Yeah.
But
that was yesterday. That was the magic hour for me. About 2 o'clock is when things jumped off.
I think it's a combination of the period and the tide. We're starting to get enough water moving in, especially up on some of these shallower areas or on the edges of these troughs. A lot of the fish we caught in the ditch, what I call like the ditch area. So if you're going to fish, say, a channel or a trough, there's really like 2 or 3 different areas to fish it. You can fish just on where it goes from shallow to deep, or you can fish in the middle, or you can fish in that weird troughy area. And it seemed like the fish were moving. I didn't find any fish that were really like posted up. Like sometimes trout would be like, you ever had a trout bite where it's like you throw there, you're going to catch a trout. If you throw right there, you're going to catch nothing.
Right.
But if you throw there every time, you're going to catch a fish. And it wasn't a day like that where there was a lot of fish hunkered down, but we ended up finding a little cut that apparently these whiting and black drum, and I'm sure there were some sheepshead, and we caught some small trout that were running through it.
Yeah.
Where if you throw there, you don't get a bite if you throw over there.
But then if you go there,
if you throw over here, you still don't get a bite.
And
then if you think, well, I'll just throw in the middle where I got no bites, you throw in the middle and you get no bite. It's on that.
It's tough.
I had no post up today. There was nothing posted up.
I feel you, man. It's definitely tough.
It's like shooting the moon.
It is.
Hard surface.
It is, man. But it happens. We talk about it, or I talk about it a lot, especially when I talk to people, because when people say, "Oh, you're a gut fishing guide," ultimately,
you're magic.
With your captain's license, you got this magic book that you open up, and you can go right there, and
you got 30, 40 fish easy.
It's all there, And at the end of the day, what it boils down to is the more you're on the water, the more days that are going to be tough or not as good as the rest of them. And it's like I always say, it's the law of averages.
Sure.
You take the average. If you're on the water 100 days, you may have a day or two, 3 days, 5 days. You put 200-300 on that, now you're looking at exponentially growing that number. Unfortunately, this is the time of year where those days will get you. And it's not always you're doing anything wrong, whatever. It's right place, right time type scenario. And
well, I told the guys today, I said, man, we zigged when we should have zagged. It's all,
Yeah.
Because I saw you catching fish, and I roll in. I saw you catch fish.
Yeah.
And I roll in and catch nothing. We did miss a few fish, but roll in and catch nothing.
That was when we were using the turnkey.
Yeah. So
habanero mangrove.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Mangrove manganero.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
But I mean, that's just fishing, and you know
it
what?
Is.
I still beat myself up over it.
Yeah.
And not as bad as I used to. And thank goodness, you get guys on the boat that understand it. And I had good guys on the boat. They were all 3 outdoorsmen, and they took it well.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, look, whether you believe this or not, I want to catch fish.
I have caught a fish before.
Yeah. I promise you, I'm taking you to places I've been catching fish.
Yeah.
But they got it. But you can still see the disappointment in somebody when that happens.
Especially the long, you go through. 1 hour in is one thing, 2 hours in is another. But
and
you
even
get deep into
one of the
that
guys
trip.
this morning, he says, "Yeah," he goes, "We're under high pressure today." He said, "This may be a tough one."
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, it's going to be a little tough." But I said, "I'm not worried about catching fish. We'll catch some fish."
Yeah. Famous last words.
Now taking it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Anyway,
but that's part of it. And real quick, and then we'll get off that topic and we'll open up if the guys got some questions. But one of the things that I find interesting when you say you didn't catch a fish, right? Most people that go out, recreational anglers, they're going to go out for probably 6-8 hours. That's a day.
Yeah.
Or maybe 10 hours.
Full day.
A lot of times we're looking at literally dock to dock a 4-hour window. And sometimes you don't get to pick that time. It's just is what it is, and whether it's tide, whether it's weather, whatever water temperature, whatever it is. But that 4 hours, now the guy that fished the morning or the guy that fished later in the afternoon might have crushed it. But that 4 hours, that half day, is a lot harder than when you get to stretch it. And
it is,
and
but
I pinpoint all that.
I think about that more times in the spring. That you pull up to a spot that you've caught fish the day before and the day before and the day before and the day before, and you pull up to a spot and you don't catch nothing. Sometimes in my mind I'm thinking, okay,
Travis has been here.
Travis has been here. James come in, and then Travis came in.
Yeah.
But you think somebody's been here, somebody's chummed, somebody's fed these fish before I got here.
Yeah.
And in the springtime that happens a lot. This time of year when we're using shrimp and we're not chumming a lot, that kind of thing, I can't look at that. I can't go to a spot that I've been catching fish and go, well, you know what?
Give a good reason. Or
I can't give a good reason.
Mhm.
I'm like, why didn't these
Yeah.
fish? Why didn't they eat today?
Yep.
Are they here? I don't know. I mean, they were here 3 days ago. They ate well.
Mhm.
They're not here today. So I can kind of give myself that little bit of a free pass in the springtime when you hit a spot. Now, if you go to 6 or 7 spots in the spring and you're not catching nothing, it ain't because somebody's been there. It's because there's something going on that day,
Mhm.
or you're just not good.
something's turned it
But
off.
that don't happen in the spring. If you go to a spot and the bite's slow, most likely somebody's been there, and you go somewhere else, and you'll get the bite going.
Right.
This time of year, it don't always work that way. You may pick at them here and there, pick at them there, but to have happened what happened today is, man, I honestly, I'd have been just ecstatic over a lizard fish by noontime.
Even whiting.
Yeah,
Something.
yeah.
Even
Whiting. Dude,
Bro,
if I could have
tell
got
you
on
what,
a whiting bite,
my
dude, I would have been
my boys are
over the
crushing
moon.
some whiting tacos right now.
Yes.
Going, man, that was epic. We left them chewing.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
We know where you'll be tomorrow.
Hey,
awesome.
hey,
Yeah,
easy,
yeah.
easy.
I'm gonna put the
Follow them in.
put the drone on you.
There's only enough room for one boat in
Yeah.
there. They're all mine.
That's
But
hilarious.
and you know what? It was kind of funny, man, the way that turned out because, funny enough, like whiting are actually really good eating fish,
Very good.
and
those
those
were
are
big
those
whiting.
are, I was
Did
gonna
you
say
see
those
the
are
picture?
Yeah, I saw
those
the
are-
They
picture.
were decent
Yeah.
whiting.
those
I mean,
are
they were
small fish, but those were big whiting.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the guy yanks it up, right? He's like, "Oh, it's a whiting." I'm like, "Dude, that's a stud." You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
man, because the first one was a bigger one we caught. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, we get into these, it's game
Yeah.
on," you know. And sure enough, we started catching them, you know. So like, guys like, "Are you that excited?" I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna love these things. Like,
Yeah.
these are the bomb. dude.
Local delicatessen.
These are Ruskin whiting.
Yeah.
These ain't them beach whiting.
Yeah, this
Wow.
just ain't your
Um,
average whiting here.
No, not at all. But
Well, hey,
to add, go ahead.
I was say years ago we caught and I've never seen one this big, but we caught like an 18-inch silver trout.
Yeah.
And the guy brings this thing in, and I'm like, dude, hold that up. Let me get a picture of this. And I'm taking pictures of everything. He's kind of looking at me like,
This little fish.
when we were inshore, we
Huh.
caught some redfish that would double this,
Yeah,
or
eat it.
almost double this.
Right.
Why are you so excited about this? I'm like, it's because it's what it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Most of these are going to be about 10 or 12 inches.
Right.
This was a stud.
It's a trophy.
Right.
And I was like, man, this probably I don't know. This is an old man fish here,
Mhm.
So
That's sort of how. That's sort of how you know.
Wow, it's a
And it was
stud.
like let's back up 1 second. This was a meat trip. These guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I asked them driving out of the marina, what do you want to do? Is it we want to catch fish or do we want to eat? We want to eat.
Mhm.
Okay, so you flip the switch and go, game on for whatever I can put in the
Yeah.
cooler that's edible, and that's sort of where it went. But I want to add something real quick, and we're going to answer a
we're
couple
going
of
to get to
questions
that
here.
question. That's a good question, right
Great
there.
But-
question.
One of the things that I notice about this time of year is when you go to make changes, when you go to move, I tend to make drastic changes if things are just blah. Like,
Mhm.
for instance, we ran today. I hadn't fished in a couple days, so I
You
was
did
like,
make some drastic changes
Yes.
today. I know exactly where you
Right.
fished and when you were there. Just from not that I'm spying, but just from talking to you,
right.
you made some drastic
And so
changes.
we tried one thing. I said the wind's down. Let's go
Mhm.
deep. We went to the middle of the bay. That didn't happen. Again, in that window, we could have just missed it, or it could have been after. So we made a drastic change and totally went the opposite direction. Went up in some creeks. Said, well, maybe these shallow water fish are going to be a little more happy. They weren't. Went back to the river, fished the river fish. Said, well, maybe the fish in the river settled down. Caught a few there. Started getting better. That's when I said, all right, I'm going to make small changes now. I found some fish, a good bite. Fish were biting consistently for me, so we didn't go very far from that.
Had to throw that in there. Was that a stab?
No.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like,
a little like it.
Yeah, it
That's
sounded like that might have been a little jab,
Yeah.
but go ahead. We're good.
you get my drift. Hey, everybody can't catch whiting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Beat
But-
him to the spot tomorrow.
yeah.
Rick.
But
I'm there. I'm there.
but that's where I was going with it and that's a technique, not necessarily technique, but kind of a philosophy where it's like you may go fish over there, then go to the power plant, then go to the river, then go, and then sort of once you start catching a few fish, just kind of zone in on that area, that one smaller area, than making those big jumps. But when it's not happening, especially when you got very limited time in terms of how long, I'll make big moves, and that's what we did today. And like I said, I ran to the whiting, man. I had to pull the golden horseshoe out. So let's answer a few questions.
Man, we got some great questions. Let's take them in order here. Boat tower pros and cons.
Boat tower pros and cons. Pros, there's quite a few pros and there's probably quite a few cons.
Yeah.
The pros are going to be you're going to be able to get up, do some scouting. You're going to be able to see, going to open up the opportunity for a lot more sight fishing. Cobias, redfish, even some snook, your trout and stuff like that. You may be able to spot fish, but chances are, a little bit different. Running the beaches, tarpon fishing will help you. For a guide like me, I think they're beneficial where the guide can kind of get up, sort of get out of the way of, if you've got a couple extra clients on board or something, it's nice to have that little room to get up there. You can also, if you're struggling, have a tough day, you can hop up and do a little scouting instantly, kind of survey the area. And so there's a few more, and I'm sure you guys will cover them too, but the cons are, if it's not built right, you're going to be ripping up floors. You can't get under the Skyway Bridge depending on how tall it is. Cracking a tower. I had a full folding tower, and I absolutely hated it. Me, short joke, I couldn't reach the dang thing to get it down, so it was like a monkey fest to try to get my tower up and down. So that was sort of a pain. I would definitely recommend a non-folding tower. And then just in general, the cracking, the maintenance, there's a lot of other stuff that goes with it. But I think for me personally, there is a benefit to it. Not only shade, get the sunshade put on it, extra rod storage, lights, and all the benefits of having it that way. But
a lot like a T-top, they'll kind of act like a sail if you're out there and you're anchored. If you don't have if you have a power pole, you're going to yaw back and forth a little bit. If you don't have a power pole, you're going to get a lot of swing. Depending on where you store your boat, if you have a tower, you're going to have I don't have a tower boat now, but when I had a tower boat, I got a big building and I had to put 12-foot doors in it.
Yeah.
So it could be a costly thing if you're looking at that. But personally, I think the pros outweigh the cons. Just my own personal opinion. I don't have a tower. I'll never have another one. But it's just a style of fishing I do now. I don't, if you don't fish a lot, a tower is probably a real good thing because you find fish. We are lucky and fortunate enough that we're on the water 150 to 200 times a year. Some guides even more than that. We kind of follow the fish. We talk a lot on the phone, so we're in a network of knowing where the fish are, what they're doing. So I don't need a tower to find fish. I follow fish, and I know you guys do as well. But if you fish on weekends or every other weekend, man, a tower can be awesome. Yeah. Because it'll shorten your day of finding fish when you are fishing. Yeah. And another thing, towers are just a lot of fun, especially if you got young ones. My daughters used to love to get up in that tower and ride.
Yeah.
Oh, they loved it.
Oh, mine does too. That was big.
Yeah.
John, you gotta figure out what your style of fishing is and how it's going to suit to it. Before transitioning to a guide, I never had a tower. In all my years of running boats, I've never had a tower. In fact, I never even wanted a T-top. I like fishing artificials, making a lot of casts 360 degrees around the boat. Putting a tower on your boat's going to limit that a lot. It's also going to change how you flats fish when you're running your trolling motor. It's going to pick up wind. Shadows are going to be more visible. But if you're predominantly a live bait guy and that's your focus, then tower could be a great option for you. The pros are the obvious ones. I mean, we all covered them. I think everybody knows that. But the cons, it's the maintenance. It's the possibility of something going really wrong, to mess up your boat even more than if you didn't have a tower. But so it's all depends on fishing style. Before I was a guide, I would never have wanted one. but I enjoy it a lot as a guide to be able to provide more room, more rod holders, sight fish, scout, especially beaches. But
when I had mine, the two biggest negatives were, one, there was a couple bridges that one a railroad bridge and one a regular car bridge that I would frequent under. One I would frequent under every time I fished. It's a pain in the butt. Did you get the rods down? Because you got to take them down to go. And I don't know. It didn't happen a lot, but a few times it did happen. There's no worse feeling when you're just getting under that bridge and you hear those rods going on the bottom of the bridge. That and catching bait at the Skyway.
When it's just under there and you got to.
Or when you're having bad weather and you got to go to the other side and you got to go all the way out and around to get there. That kind of stinks.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, I don't see no cons in them other than cost and storage.
Yeah.
The fishability, they're awesome. No question about it.
There's something else I wanted to add, and partly because I'm finishing up my skiff now. This particular boat only has top steering. There's no steering down below. So if you're not running from the tower, you're not running the boat.
Right.
And that's something to consider too. For this particular boat, the way that it was built, it's not built to run across the bay and do all this other stuff. It's built for one specific reason. So it only has driving capability from the upper station. But, most people will have upper and lower. If you can do the lower, I recommend it because, you say, oh, well, I can always run up there, whatever. Well, let me tell you one thing. When you're sitting in a 3/4 to full tower, even a half tower, on a 2-3 foot chop out in the bay, most boats, I don't care who they are, you're going to get banged around pretty good up there. And if you kind of bank on only being able to drive from your top station, you're going to have a day where you're going to regret having that tower.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you're going to be breaking it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because they're not really designed, most of them, aren't designed for full capacity up top in a 2-3 foot, swell, swinging that thing back and forth.
With weight, with your body weight.
I recommend getting down, if you're going to have a tower and say make the run to the bridge or whatever, and then, jump up in it when you need it. The other thing I was going to say is, burning shorelines. It's something that always comes up. And one of the things, like, there's certain areas where I will like to run the edge of the bar or whatever, but most of the time, for me, if I'm going to go scout and be in the tower, I put the trolling motor in.
Yeah,
and go down go down a bar or go down an edge or mangrove shoreline or whatever. Don't, make sure you still follow the rules and idle zones and all that stuff for towers, because it seems like a lot of folks that get towers, it's like, oh, man, now they can see.
Can't wait.
So the areas that they wouldn't run through because they weren't sure if it was deep. No, the reason why you really shouldn't have run through there is because there's an idle zone or no wake zone. Yeah. So when they get the towers, they ultimately think, well, I can see now, let's just go. And so if you're going to get a tower, and it's a lot more.
It looks a lot shallower than
it does.
And it's a lot more enticing, too, when you're in a tower to go down the channel. You want to run across the bar.
We do have a couple really good local people that make towers. You got Aluminum Outfitters and you got Sanchez Brothers. Both of those make, and y'all probably know some more, but those are two that come to mind. When I think about having some work done on a boat that's going to require some aluminum.
Another one
those are good. Solid.
OTS Welding. My boy Jason Heller down in Bradenton. He does a really nice tower. He may be building the one for my Canyon Bay here soon too. But that's another one down for you guys down south to check out. And then you had
Aquashade, Tom over there. Yeah, they did it. I was impressed with it.
Yeah, your tower came out really good.
Use thick piping,
stout,
2.5 inch piping.
Pipe.
So
that was the other thing too, is if you're going to build a tower and you sort of, start from ground zero and go, build it stout. Don't take anything lightly.
Don't do it.
Put enough support in there. Do it all right, because a lot of times that's where it cracks, is in an 1.5 inch piping.
Somebody told Rick he is the tower.
What?
You're tall enough to be the tower. Yeah, you don't even need it.
Oh yeah. That's Jay-Z.
That's definitely unfair if you get another 6 feet up there.
That's Jay-Z.
Oh, dude, he would be
Jay-Z's so happy with me
monster.
because I got him a 10-gallon bucket to take on his boat.
What's up, Ty? We got Glenn in the house too.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Well, what else, guys? You got any other questions?
Oh, yeah, there was
Manny, who's always on the show, he asked about snapper fishing in the bay right now. Any reports on that, mangroves?
We caught a few small ones.
Mm-hmm.
We went to some rock piles that generally, and my article is about to come out for Osprey Observer for this month, and I kind of wrote a little article about sheep's head and mangrove snapper, and part of what I talked about was the mangrove snapper and the sheep's head sort of tend to share that same area for breeding this time of year. So a lot of my mangrove snapper spots that I'll fish in the summertime are areas that I'll target for sheep's head. And that area had nothing today. I mean, we had no sheep's head, no snapper, but we did catch some snapper inshore. They were just small. I imagine that there's places that guys are getting some nice mangrove snappers. I think it's just a matter of finding a good, concentration of them and doing it. But I personally have.
And as we were working our way back in, I know we ran into them, so I know they're
I
out there a little bit. Yeah,
I caught a stud out there, but that's different.
But I mean, I'm running into them sheep's head fishing, up a little further north. They're just not of quality size.
Right.
I'm sure they're there. It's just not what we're chasing and targeting. So.
Excuse me. Scroll up. There was a couple more questions there. Excuse me.
This was a good one here. Go take that one, Rick.
Well, let's get the one come in before
Glenn
that.
Sanchez.
What type bottom do you guys like to fish this time of year? I'll start with this one. It depends on what I'm fishing for. Typically, I like a good mud, dark bottom this time of year because you're going to find warmer water temps in that. If you got some good water flow, find that if you want to catch snook, redfish, that's what I would do. If I'm trying to catch sheephead, I'd find some rocks or some oyster bars, whatever, and fish for that. But yeah, typically I look for the mud.
Yep.
I like inshore for primarily what we do. I like oysters. I'll concentrate on oyster bars this time of year for several reasons.
What do you? Let me ask
my
you this.
bottom is like shell bottom,
right,
oyster
but
bar.
Not
necessarily an oyster bar.
No, I got you. Let's say you're
bottom.
going out and you got some guys on the boat that say, "Look, I want to catch whiting." Where are you going?
Covered. It's over. I got to blindfold them. It is a Shell Creek bottom.
There we go.
It's a Shell Creek bottom. There was actually a little bit of rock pile, a little bit of shell, and it's a hard bottom, real hard bottom.
Write that down.
and the GPS location could potentially be for sale. But no, that's what it was. It was a hard bottom, shell bottom, and these fish, for whatever reason, and they feed a lot like the sheep's head, the black drum. They're eating those crustaceans, crabs,
You were in
shrimp.
a man-made area.
How do you know?
I'm guessing that you were probably in an area.
My whiting pen. I went to the whiting pen.
That was man-made and not a natural.
He's just throwing darts to see what
he
pinpoint his position.
Similar, yeah. I mean, depends on.
You're gonna catch some fish tomorrow, no matter what.
It depends.
I'm going to Georgia tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
It depends. It depends. But that's the kind of bottom I'll look for. Is a hard bottom. Mainly for me, I think the trout. Crazy enough, a lot of success in the trout fishing that I've done in the last, I'd say, month or so has come on those rough creek bottom, shell bottom, oyster bar areas.
Yeah.
The mud hasn't produced as much for me on that, but maybe I'm in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I mean, so I fish with Glenn a lot. I think he and I feel the same way about this, especially where we like to fish. I like the things that can radiate that heat back. On cold days, if I'm targeting redfish or snook specifically, it's mud in creeks. That's ideal. You mix in an oyster bar there too, now you're really talking. To have both of those features close together. Fortunately, up north we have a lot of that. We have a ton of it. It's a good fishery. For trout though, really temperature driven, but shell bottom, rocky bottom. And it could be sandy under there too, but something about that shell bottom, they just love it.
Well, and I tell you,
around a lot, so that makes a lot of sense.
There's a good, I think for me personally, I don't know it's the reason, but oysters and shell bottom generally grow where there's a lot of flow most of the time. They're areas that are nutrient rich in flow most of the time, and so for me, that's why I think it all ties in, especially this time of year, because I think them fish are getting in those high flow areas to feed because there's not a lot of forage food. There's not a lot of bait schools around everywhere. So I feel like a lot of those high flow areas are majority of the bigger concentrations of fish because I think that's where they're feeding is in those high flow areas.
Makes sense.
Just an opinion on that.
Scroll down. I know that, and that, you know what? That's kind of cool to see someone ask a question, have someone else answer it. That's neat. But anyway. Just kind
what do we
got
got?
off track. Now going down,
There
there
was
another one that
this one right here.
Yeah.
Go for that one.
How long to wait out a spot you know has produced consistently, but just isn't on a given day? Wow.
This is going to vary a little bit.
That will vary, and that could be. I mean, that depends a lot on tide.
Yeah.
I would tell you, you want me to take it first? Or
Go for it. You're already on it.
I'm an impatient.
Take it.
I'm an impatient dude.
Yes. Very, very impatient.
I cannot stand sitting on dead water. If I go somewhere and if I limit it out there the day before quickly and I get there in 30, 40 minutes, I'm struggling, out. Gone. I am so out of there. Travis, this has probably been 2 years ago. We ran a 2-boat deal, and we get back to the dock, and it was one of those. This time of year, it was a tough day, and you'll remember this once I start talking about it. It was a tough day, and we were fishing the river. I mean, I was like, all day long.
Yeah.
And Travis would be here, and then I would see Travis
I
over
do
there.
remember this now.
And then I saw
you
him
fish,
later.
you fish.
And, at the end of the day, we pull up, and I got 6 or 8 fish all day. I mean, I was like, and I worked so hard for them and burnt so much fuel to get them. And old Trav gets out of the boat with a net full of trout and a couple redfish and a couple. You had a monster sheephead that day. I remember that. And I'm like,
that was in the river.
Yes,
I do remember that.
And
we caught a big pompano. Giant pompano.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude. So which one of these times when I'm flying by you don't go, whoa, they're eating.
They're on my bone.
That was the day I ran.
I cleaned like 3 fish and only caught 8 fish all day. And
I think I ran that trip on my trolling motor.
And you probably did. And he probably cleaned a dozen fish that day, and I'm like, wow. And caught 20. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So
you never know, man. You never know. You never know.
if you're watching, what you can gather from tonight's show is I suck.
No. No.
It's just one of those days, man.
Everybody's got them. It takes a man to admit it.
Yeah.
I promise you that. I promise you that.
Especially on this, come clean right here.
I mean, hey, tell the world, Rick.
Yeah.
I'm terrible.
Just today. I don't know. I get asked that question a lot, when with clients all the time or people who are trying to pick up on.
Hot.
It is. Be careful, man. Be careful. I get asked that question all the time, like, 'cause they'll say, "Oh, we're moving our," and it's if it just doesn't feel right. But I think to answer that question is, depending on how similarly those tides and conditions line up to when you've had success there, maybe you give it a little bit longer. But if you show up at an opposite time, it's not happening. Then I think you know why.
Sometimes it depends on your clients too.
Yeah,
depends on the clients. It depends on what they expect.
Yeah.
Perfect example is, somebody say, well, how long do you stay on a spot if you catch fish there and it's not producing, right? Let me turn it around. How long do you stay on a spot when it's producing?
True.
Because most people wear them out, and that's probably a more controversial question.
Sure.
I think that's something.
I know guys that'll stick their power poles down and sit there for 4 hours and run their entire trip.
That's taboo.
And
let them breathe, man. Catch you some
not
fish.
Not to stray away from that topic, real quick, 15, 20 minutes is about if nothing's happening and I'm not feeling it, 15, 20 minutes maybe. If it's a prospect spot, then it may be only 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I may look for a second and go, all right, guys, let's keep going. But if it's a spot that I have caught fish in, I may give it a few extra minutes because you coming in or
let it settle down a little bit.
I'll tell you who is the absolute best at that, and in my opinion, he's the best angler we have in the whole area. You can go 100 miles that way and 100 miles that way. In my opinion, he's a good friend of mine. I ain't saying this to flatter him, but TJ Stewart's the best fisherman I know.
He's a very good fisherman.
TJ Stewart is so good about going into a spot, catching some fish, getting out, and they'll be back tomorrow.
Right.
Instead of just wearing them out until you change their pattern.
Yep.
Probably a big part of what makes it good.
TJ's probably 20 years younger than me, and he taught me that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I used to be the guy that would go in, you get on a hot redfish bite, and you sit there and catch 40.
Mm-hmm.
I go with TJ one day, and we're just fun fishing, and we go in and we catch 4 or 5 fish, and he said, let's roll. And I'm like, what do you mean, man? What are we rolling for? They're eating. He goes, nah, let's go. We got more.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I want to catch these fish tomorrow. I'm like, well, man, that's so simple. It makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And it's something else. He's like, I don't want nobody to see me catching them, so I can
Yeah.
go out here and sting them.
Yeah.
I go here and sting 3 or 4, 5, 6 fish. I can get gone. Nobody saw me doing it.
Yeah.
So
part of, and I think that's a very healthy guide perspective on things, but also a tournament angler, because I know
absolutely
from a
for
redfish
yes.
standpoint, you know, if you've got a school of fish or you've got an area that's holding redfish, the last thing you want to do is beat them up, especially coming into tournament
putting
season.
hooks in their face the day before.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, or even just messing with them, running them over, just don't even mess with them, you know. But anyway, so that's all good stuff. But I wanted to kind of flip that around, because that probably doesn't get talked about near as much as you know, how long do I stay if it ain't happening?
Well, that's one of those things you always kind of talk about. The other, I did a seminar here a month or so ago, and I kind of did sort of that. I went in and I said, okay, look, everybody. I said, you guys get seminars in here once a month. I said, everybody comes in here, and I said, I know the guys they have come in here. They're all great fishermen. But everybody comes in here and says, this is how I catch redfish. This is how I catch snook. This is how I catch this. This is how I catch that. I said, we're not going to talk about that. I said, we're going to talk about the 3 things that people do that if they didn't do, they would catch more fish. And we talked about, one of the things we talked about was how long to stay in a spot.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we talked about was downsize things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I know y'all see it too. You pull up next to somebody out there, and it's the middle of April, and everybody's catching fish, and you pull up next to a guy over there, and he's got a 5-foot shark rod with 50-pound test on it, and a triangle weight, and a shrimp, and he's chucking the thing as hard as he can. It's going 20 foot from the boat, and he's catching nothing. Well, guess what, man? Downsize that. Get you a light tackle, get you a small leader, get you a small hook, get rid of the weight, and throw it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? You'll start catching fish.
Right.
So just to kind of follow on what you're doing, looking at things maybe sometimes from just the opposite, and that's what you did, and that was pretty good. Look at things from the opposite, and you might find some good answers to help you.
A better answer on the other side.
Absolutely,
of that.
absolutely.
Right. There's a little buzz going on here about needlefish, and we had a question to talk about. Derek asked us, do any of you guys use needlefish? The Snook and Jacks absolutely love them.
Ain't touching them.
Now, I've actually heard this. I know down south, like Marco Island, Naples area, they'll use them on the dock lights, because I think it's maybe a little more prevalent to go actually like catch a bunch of.
That's what I used today, just so you'll know.
Is that what you? Oh, for bait?
Today I used needlefish.
You went big. You went trophy hunting.
Yeah.
That's just part of the trip, you know. But so, cut needlefish. But what about live needlefish? Is anybody? I mean, Derek, are you using them live, or are you cut baiting them? Because I tell you what, if you've ever grabbed a needlefish, like grab one by your hand and smell your hand, dude.
They stink.
That is a rank fish, man. I couldn't imagine that it wouldn't work as good cut bait, because they are stinky.
Have you ever used them, James?
No, ballyhoo we've used a lot for snook, you know, down in dock lights, but never a needlefish.
Yeah.
Have you ever cleaned a fish with a needlefish in it? See,
I might have.
I'll look at. I'll play Travis's game here. I'll turn it around.
Yeah.
I ain't never seen a needlefish in the gut of nothing. I mean, I've cleaned a ton of redfish and never seen a needlefish.
Fish are insanely opportunistic animals.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know,
survival.
There was a. I don't know if it was on TV or if I read an article, but they were talking about the Goliath grouper. And I'm not going to open up a can of worms on this, but I thought it was interesting that the state of Florida does research, and they'll go out and they will catch Goliath groupers.
Yeah. They'll
bring them on the boat. They'll hand line them, bring them up on the boat. They've got a PVC pipe that they jam down their throat.
Pump their stomach.
And actually they don't even pump it. This guy like reaches in there, pulls out what's in the thing's stomach. They look at it or whatever. They take some measurements, take a DNA, whatever, snap, and they let him go. And they say that there's like never any mangrove snappers, never any, yellowtails, never any, whatever other.
None of what we're losing to the fish.
Hog snappers or whatever, However, you go there and you start fishing, and you start bringing them fish up.
Yeah.
They're gonna eat them.
Yeah.
They say like lobsters, crabs.
That's what they're pulling out.
Yeah.
Right. Because, and I think what it is they're opportunistic.
Right.
So they sit there, and a lobster comes up, boom.
Boom.
You know what I mean? Ain't no hog snapper gonna come up and go, hey, you know.
Yeah.
So, but when there's one flail in there,
Right.
they come up and eat them. Now, I'm not arguing the point that Goliaths aren't overran and all that other stuff. But what I'm saying is to your point, you may never find a needlefish in a fish, but that doesn't mean when you fire one out there
Exactly.
that one's not
Sure.
going to stroke it.
Sure.
You know, because they're in the lights. You know,
Sure.
swim around dock lights and all that jazz. So it makes sense to me. I mean, especially there's an area that
Maybe cutting them.
I could probably see them more cut, but
Yeah.
I don't know how long they'll live on a hook.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. You could probably slow troll one by
He
a dock or
replied back
something.
saying he does both, cut and live, and he
Right.
did acknowledge the
What's
nastiness
up,
of it.
Mr. Bob? What's up, Chris? Thanks for watching, man. Y'all got any questions? We're just kind of open micing it. Whatever you guys got. We were talking a little bit about everything. If you scroll down,
Freestyling tonight.
freestyling it. You know, fishing report. But yeah, if you guys got anything else, we'll go over it. If not, let's do a little trivia
Trivia. All
and
right.
see if somebody wants to win something. What do we got?
Some ProCure gel can make the
And
difference
then-
between a bite and not a bite sometimes.
And then Rick's gonna go for a ProCure
I'm not
shooter.
doing a Procure shooter.
Come on, man.
No, sir.
It's good for the skunk.
That's good for the skunk.
Good for it. All right. The ocean sunfish, mola, produces more blank than any other species of fish. What is it and how many?
Ooh, going grande.
Yeah, double.
All right. And we ain't no fish scientists.
No,
We looked all this up on Google.
we read it.
So don't
Google.
I don't want to
Thumbs
comment
are
saying
thumbs
it
are
was
at work out there right now. I know it.
whatever. That's just
Repeat
what
the
we
species
got.
of the fish just so everybody can type it in.
The ocean sunfish, and then in parentheses it says the mola.
Mola.
And I can
Right.
this the
Not
last
familiar with that
the
one.
last sentence of this paragraph says, considered a delicacy in Asia, a single mola can fetch prices as high as $600 US.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Read it one more time and then we'll
All
keep
right.
rolling.
The ocean sunfish, mola, produces more blank than any other species of fish. What is it that they produce, and what's that number?
Crickets on the comments.
And you're gonna get some ProCure.
Everybody's looking right now.
Now, we were gonna kind of follow this up. So, one of the things that I think, for me, Rick, and you and I talked about it on the way over, that may have helped us a little bit today was I noticed that we were pinching the tails off
Mm-hmm.
the shrimp.
Yeah.
Right? Pinching the tails or pinching the heads off. And literally, we fished in a spot for probably 10, 15 minutes. And got some little nibbles, got some, what I could see the line jumping. We didn't hook any fish. I said, man, I know these fish are here.
Yeah.
Everything looked too good. It felt right. So I got up there and I pinched the tail off one. I flipped it back out there. I said,
Release
"Here,
that
hold on
scent.
Literally
Yep.
maybe a minute, boom, caught a fish. And so that sort of triggered that pattern of pinching all those tails.
We have a winner.
Mr. Bob Howell. Yes, sir. We appreciate you, brother.
300 million eggs, huh?
Is that what it is? 300 million?
300 million eggs at a single spawning.
Wow.
Dude, that's insane.
So
That's a
Bob,
lot of egg.
you
So-
got some Procure.
So what was
Usually-
they're buying, what was the price there?
$600.
So if you get a pregnant,
It don't
Mola,
say that.
mola.
It just says, considering a delicacy in Asia, a single mola can fetch prices as high as $600.
Never
Wow.
had one.
so I guess they eat them and they get them with the eggs in them. And that's why
Yeah.
there's so much.
Yeah.
$600 for
Yeah.
one fish?
I don't even think it matters. They just want the mola.
Produces more eggs
I need to
than
be a
any
male
other
sunfish.
vertebrate on the planet.
I guess when you divide the eggs out, 300 million divided by
Yeah.
600. I mean, or 600 divided by 300 million. Really.
Jay-Z like to be reborn as a male sunfish.
No, you wouldn't, Jay.
I'm
One
sure not
sperm.
many of those 300 million even survive.
But anyway, going back to this guy. So right now, I think stink matters, man.
Yeah.
That's why I think this is fitting for this time of year, especially if you're gonna be throwing some artificials.
Yep.
Definitely get you some ProCure. I think it'll help slow things down a little bit. Slow things down. Let that scent work. Rick and I were talking about this also on the way over just kind of reminiscing our trips from today, and when we were bottom fishing more or less with shrimp, I kept telling the guys every now and again just kind of lift up and just lift that shrimp off the bottom and just kind of let him go a little bit.
Bring him to life a
don't
little
reel
bit.
him in. Don't crank him up 10 feet and put him back down, but just bump your rod tip and make sure he's not hung up against the rock. Well, they started doing that. Well, it progressed into, as we worked inshore, to just this, to like reeling and then bumping and reeling and bumping and reeling and bumping. And so by the end of the day, 2:30, 3 o'clock, these guys were like throwing out and jigging shrimp back, you know? And it seemed like when I went to the smaller pieces, it was almost like throwing like a little butterfly jig or something, you know? But I tried to get them. I'm like, just let it sit there, man. And that's what the key was not moving it.
Yeah.
You know, throw it out there, let it sit. In a minute or two, if you don't get a bite, just lift up on it. Just make sure it ain't hung up under a rock or something. And I think it was because of the scent. A combination of letting that scent sit there, letting the fish find the bait instead of the bait coming the fish coming after the bait. They're wanting to just kind of cruise around. So this will definitely help you on both ends of that game. Procure. I like the mullet. Personally.
Everything eats a mullet.
Everything eats. It's a circle
of
of life.
Heard that from one of you guys.
Yep, it's a circle of life, man. Everything eats mullet, man. Everything. Freshwater, saltwater.
Man.
It's crazy, man.
It's a good question there. Transom Saver thought. What do you use and like?
I am a big believer in it. I use it's a Yamaha product. I mean, I think they make them for all, but it's the ones
You're
that
talking
go
about the pole deal?
No, not the one that goes with the trailer. It's on the God, it's gonna bust me up. It goes right on the cylinders for the
tilt and trim.
Tilt and trim.
The two little.
The two little ones.
Yeah.
I had a really bad experience with the Atlas jack plate. I had to take it in to get a service. I couldn't get to my oil and do all that, so I took it over here to Cracker Boy, right around the street corner from the shop, and he's like, man, I trimmed your motor down today and it bounced, and he's like, your bolts that connect the Atlas jack plate, not into the transom but into the two parts of the Atlas, were stretched out from all that wear and tear of driving it, on trailer with the jack plate up, and who knows how close I was to losing a motor off the back. So fortunately he caught it. He's like, dude, you got to get these right away. But since then I haven't had any issues. But man, that was scary.
Rick, spill the beans, man. Something choked Rick up here.
See that last comment?
Rick, the picture of me suntanning on the front of your boat.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean,
I will spare you guys the details.
Wow.
Game over.
But Rob, I'd definitely look into it, man, and find one that works on your motor.
It's an inexpensive thing to have to prevent an inexpensive issue.
Yeah.
What are they, like $10 for the little?
They're like $20 each. I got two of them because there's two cylinders. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, best money.
I like the stick that goes from the motor to the trailer.
Yeah, I would say anything is probably better than nothing. Especially, I trailer my boat everywhere, so it's 4 or 5 days a week, back and forth, depending on where I'm going.
Another one that kind of gets asked around about like that is the straps, tie down straps.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use transom straps?
I use one.
Everywhere you go.
One.
Oh, how do you use one? Just one on one side?
Yeah, just put one on one side.
Just one on one side. Okay, that's interesting. Why wouldn't you just go for two?
Twice the work.
Just
go for one.
Well, one will keep the boat
Keep her down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm with you. That's cool. I never put trailer straps on mine. When I was trailing my boat from Cockroach Bay back to the house, it was like 3 miles to the house. So I really didn't need them. And plus, I used to. And that one morning that I woke up and I was like, throw my stuff in the boat and back up. And the boat didn't come off. Back up a little more. Back up a little more.
Yeah,
Next thing you know, the transom's underwater, or something. But I've done that several times, too, where you back it up with the straps on it because I don't put them on. So I'll borrow somebody's boat or back somebody up, and I don't, ever think about it.
I think it's actually, and I don't know this,
but that'll help keep that whole transfer from bouncing is where I was going with it.
Legally, you're supposed to have one strap.
At least one?
Yeah.
I think, I'm sure somebody here from the Keys.
And I don't know that. If somebody
this,
knows that, send us that.
I'm pretty sure if you drive down US 1
they're checking
to the Keys, they are looking for your boat not to be strapped down.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a real bad place.
Definitely. As soon as you get on, as soon as you basically enter the northernmost part of the Keys.
Right. Game
yeah,
on.
Yeah, game on.
You better have some straps on there. But my skiff, my tunnel haul, doesn't even have from the factory or from Keys Marine. There is no U-bolts or whatever, lifting rings or whatever they got on the back. So I got to put them in. But I thought that was kind of funny.
I just take a strap and go from trailer to trailer.
Yeah, that's
true. You can go across.
I did that when I had my Maverick pulling skiff. I actually had an old seatbelt that the guy before me used.
Right.
You had it, and you'd throw it over and then bring it down,
kick it back,
good to go.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I have my boat's bigger now, 24 foot, but I run the straps and the transom saver type deal. So I run them both.
We run a yellowfin every now and again, and I shouldn't have said it like that, but he went high dollar on it, and he's got the little bungee ones, that retract. Do you have the retractables on yours?
No, they're not retractable now.
And, when I saw them, I was like, oh, they're great. Those are going to last about 2 weeks before you can't even open them. And surprisingly, they actually last pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, they last fairly long. They still work, and I'm surprised because that boat's been used quite a bit. Maybe on a daily boat, you may have to replace them, obviously, more often, but to this day, man, you can crank them down and pop them. I don't know if anybody's got any experience on those because those are the ones I was thinking about getting. Because for my boat, I do want the hoisting rings in case I ever want to hoist it. You know what I mean? To have them there. So the other thing, too, is it's nice if you got to tow somebody. There's nothing in the back of the boat to tow. That's another thing, too. I saw a guy, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, towing off his cleat, like on the side of his boat. Most boats have 3 points that are really good to tow your boat on. Those are those tie-down strap points. Your front eye and your 2 lifting rings or lifting eyes in the back. If you're going to tow somebody or get towed, tie it to that. Don't rip the cleat off your boat.
Yeah, but if you're just if you're towing slowly, you're not putting enough on it.
Just depends, really.
But you're not.
You ever anchor on that cleat in bad weather? That's putting a pretty good tug. So if you're towing in not bad weather and you're not towing hard, I don't think it'll hurt.
I'm just saying it. Most boats aren't built. To tow from the cleats. I can promise you that.
You caught some whiting today. We all get it.
Listen, I'm a little fired up. I'm a little.
Couple whiting and it goes to his head.
Couple whiting and now he works for Sea Tow.
Yeah. Listen. I am a professional tower. Tiger, chime in, Bubba. You better back your boy up, or Yaeckel's Marine Towing goes out the window, bro. But anyway, no, that's just something I see, man, and I don't know, stuff like that. But I guess it's just the engineering in me. It's like when you have something else, do it the right way if you got it. That's all. But
dude, I'm just giving you a hard
I know you are. But hey, I caught whiting today, so I'm not worried about it.
We got 2.5 minutes.
I can handle it. Also, Bob, Big Bob, what'd he say? Also, brakes on boat trailers over 3,000 pounds in Florida. Yeah, state law. Chris, are you running those Fultons on your boat? Are you still?
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah, I like them, man. They're actually nice, dude. Because I'm always constantly. I used to lose the little straps in the back and all that. So, if you are one of those guys, man, do that. And I'm gonna do that on the skiff because I'll be toting it a long way.
Those are kind of they stay there, then you just pull them up. And
they're retractable, man. You pull them up, put them down. And for anybody that's just tuning in, the reason why we got to this was somebody asked about transom supports on the motor, and I sort of brought this up because it all ties in. My point is, you go put this little stuff on, and your boat's banging around. It doesn't really do. It'll help, but for your instance, it's still putting the motor.
Yeah.
It's still putting the stress on the transom.
Right.
Maybe not on the motor bracket, but if the back of that boat starts bouncing around, you're putting extra pressure on that boat that it normally wouldn't have if it was in the water because it'd be displacing the water.
Yep.
Captain George, man, what's up, brother? I need to get down there and see you, man. As soon as I get my boat done, dude, I'm coming down your way. And we'll go for a ride, man. Give us a fishing report, George. Write it on there, man. Let us know how we're doing down south, bud. But
1 minute.
We got 1 minute, so
then it's
I guess
grub time.
It is. Where are we going to eat tonight?
It's up to you, babe.
I like it. Jason's not here. We don't have to go to Subway.
Yeah. By the way, we didn't say nothing when we first come on. Jason is in Breckenridge.
Princess.
The Snow Princess.
The
and
princess.
I saw a comment when we first started that he's still at the airport because the plane is broke.
Here.
Now,
Yeah,
if you go
I
all
was
the way,
kind of following that.
if you go all the way to the first comment, he was either the first or the second comment
Still at TIA, he said.
No,
No, go all the way to the beginning.
No,
No, to the beginning.
that is the beginning.
I can't.
I think when he shared the page, it said.
Okay.
Here, she shared it and said, "I'm
Yeah,
still stuck at TIA."
he's okay. Yeah, he said he's still at.
All right.
Well, Jay, we're pulling for you, brother. Hope
Yeah.
you get to the snow, man, before you got to turn around and come back. But anyway, guys, we're going to run out of time here in just another minute. We appreciate everybody joining in. We're going to be back next week, have some good stuff.
Okay.
So, going to get better every week. If you've got questions, you can keep firing them off. We'll go back on the page and answer anything we can. If you've got anything you want to see from us or products to be reviewed or own a company and want a product reviewed, that's another good way to do it. Send it to us. We'll check it out, let you know what we think. But
Absolutely.
in the meantime, guys, we're going to sign off. Before we do, we're going to let you guys have our information to book a charter if you want, and then we'll see you next week. Myself, Captain Travis Yaeckel, Instinct Fishing Company, 813-830-3474. Captain Jason Prieto, 813-727-9890.
Captain James Beers with Local Knowledge Fishing Adventures, 813-625-2067.
Awesome. You guys don't want to fish with me right now. Hit me up in a couple weeks.
He'll be on the whiting tomorrow.
Right
Don't
now
worry.
Right now is not a good time. I don't even want to give you my number. Right now I can't put you on nothing. I'm terrible.
Captain Rick, 813
601-2900. If you
Bam! I made it.
If you just
Have
want
faith in him.
if you just want to go out and enjoy a boat ride, give me a shout.
See some dolphin.
I'm your man. I can show you dolphins and manatees right now.
All right, guys. We appreciate it. Same time,
All right, see ya.
same place.